Howdy, Aggies, and we're back for another week of LiucciCast with Sean Porter. No Lucci this week. This week we have a very, very special guest. One of my good friends, Terrence Frederick, taught me a lot. Really established a lot of the traditions here at Texas A&M, kind of behind the scenes. So very happy to have Terrence on the podcast this week.
Appreciate that.
We are hosted this week by Richard Zane, who's going to kind of lead us and narrate us through the conversation. And let's get rolling. Talk about this Aggie game versus Arkansas. What do you think?
Yeah, this might be like the last thing I ever do here at TexAgs. So I'm so excited, nervous, anxious to see what the reaction from the man whose name is actually on this piece of content, see what his reaction is, but whatever. Moving on. First off, obviously you came to A&M before he did.
Right.
What was he like as a freshman, and how did the bond between the two of y'all really form and turn into what Sean described as one of the best friendships he has in the entire world?
Yeah, I don't think it took much longer for me and him to get clicking. Like, it's like any other kid coming into a bigger program and not used to like such a big atmosphere of, students and big time fans and family members, alumni, and a huge band that we're walking into. But once we start hanging around each other, and it didn't take long for him to take the field as well, and we start meshing because obviously we're on defense together, and 9 times out of 10 we're on the same side, so we kind of went forward and just kept going after that. So
plenty more Sean and T-Fred stories later on in this edition of the LiucciCast. I'm very interested in hearing about how you didn't get cooked by Des Bryant in your first game as a Aggie, but we'll go ahead and start with the game this past weekend. A&M beats Arkansas up in Jerry World, the last AT&T stadium trip for the Southwest Classic before it returns to campuses beginning next year. Aggies win 21-17. Let's go ahead and start with the Aggie offense. Kind of a disjointed kind of day for the Aggie offense, but they get the job done, right? They're down 17-14 late. They find a way to score a touchdown. Le'Veon Moss takes over in that fourth quarter. Sean, I'll begin with you. What did you see from the Aggie-O?
Kind of like ebbs and flows in it. They had ups and downs, right? Some good moments where they looked really good and explosive, and some bad moments where they kind of drug their feet through the sand a little bit. I think our offense kind of got to find their identity this year, find exactly what we want to be doing and within our scheme and with our players, and kind of go from there. I think that no matter what, though, at the end of the day, when you get a win, it's a good day, right? So a win is a win is a win, right?
T-Fred?
yeah, I kind of feel what he's saying as well. I know that as a first-year coach, and you've already made a change at the quarterbacking position, and I feel like everyone's just trying to get themselves established. And I feel like that's going to get even better as the season goes on. So.
And that's a question I wanted to pose to both of y'all, really. Richard, you can go first. And it's, what do we think about Marcel Reed after after being able to start for a couple games? We're able to see him out there, see him kind of get his feet wet, get comfortable with the offense. I know everybody was super, super, super excited after week 1. What do we think after seeing him for a few weeks?
Well, first off, my position here at this here company is I have no position on that question mark. They don't pay me to talk about football. They don't pay me to analyze football. They pay me to edit the stories that Billy Lucci writes and to occasionally write about a baseball game. So as far as I'm concerned, you say a win is a win is a win.
Right.
I know Marcel Reed is 3-0 as a starter at Texas A&M, and to me, that stat matters. I like that. Let's keep it going. However, but at the same time, the win streak's 4. Right. So whoever the guy is to get the win streak to 5, to 6, to 7, I'm all right with that. That's my personal stance. That's in no way, shape, and form what the company pays me to think. So I'm going to stop talking before I further get myself in any trouble.
Yes, Fred, what do you think about our quarterback situation?
Somebody who's way more qualified to talk about football, Terrence Frederick.
Oh, man, I just feel like his number was called, and he's been able to do everything that they've asked him to do. I mean, like you said, 3-0. It's not going to always be the prettiest thing you want to see. No matter who's going in there, any quarterback, any position, it's not always going to be how you want it to be. But so far, I've liked what I've seen by him, the ups and the downs, and then the more comfortable he gets, it's going to be down the road in the rest of the season, and I think we're going to be pretty excited for that.
Now I know it's on different sides of the ball, right? The linebacker, cornerback, but what is it like being thrust into a Division I college football game as a youngster. You talked about being a true freshman making starts in the Big 12 back then. Obviously, Marcel's a redshirt freshman, and this is the SEC, but what's it like? What's it like getting thrown into the fire like that?
It's big. It's nerve-wracking. You got a lot on your shoulders at the time. Preparation is everything, you know? So you can tell if somebody has really prepped for that moment or have not. And I feel like no matter what position you are, that day, that given time, are you prepared for it? And it shows.
And I think the same thing. I think he's come in and stepped in and done exactly what the coaches and the program has asked him to do. He's taken over that responsibility and taken the reins and done a good job with it. I'm just interested to see what Elko is going to do moving forward as Wigman gets more and more healthy as the days go by. And we've kind of reserved we haven't really talked about the quarterback situation here at all, and it's kind of a big topic, right? So, I mean, just touch a little bit on that. I love the way that Le'Veon Moss played. I love the way that he carried the game at times and kind of put the team on his shoulders and decided, you know, I'm going to have a big day today.
117 rushing yards. I believe that's a career high for Le'Veon. Didn't have a touchdown, but he got the yards that really, when it mattered most. I want to say like 90 of his yards came in the fourth quarter or something, but don't quote me on that again. Like that is true. Luke Evangelist in the back telling me it's true. He had 90 rushing yards in the fourth quarter alone in crunch time when it mattered the most.
I agree. Fourth quarter, man, that's when it matters. That's it. He's getting it done at the right time. Especially at the end of the game, you need your running backs to bring you home sometimes, right? Sometimes you're just trying to kind of get out of there with the win. You need your running backs to carry you through that and get out of there with the win.
Time management.
Moss, he did just that on Saturday. So, and I like to see number 6, Cyrus Allen, kind of waking up this week. I feel like he was getting separation. He was making himself a big target out there for 10, and he's coming alive. I like to see the progression with him.
I'm pulling up Cyrus Allen's stats real quick. You talked about separation. He was a little bit of a presence, but the numbers might not necessarily back that up. 1 catch for 22 yards. I'll stick with the wide receiver position because it was the first time we saw an Aggie wideout go for over 100 yards this year, T-Fred. Noah Thomas.
Yeah.
Now he has the big 58-yard touchdown catch earlier in the game, helps A&M respond from that big 75-yard touchdown catch they gave up in the first drive of the game to the Razorbacks. But he goes 6 grabs, 109, the long of 58. He averages 18.2 yards per carry, 11 targets. Are we seeing Noah Thomas emerge as a number 1?
For us, I feel like that's a great possibility. I mean, anyone that has that splash on that particular game or that day, I think it gives them a boost of confidence moving forward. You know, now he's going to want the ball even more. Now he's going to be more explosive down the field after a catch. You know, so 18 yards, I think is what you said per catch right now is what he's averaging is good to see. Now, obviously, you want to see that over and over again throughout the season. So, I mean, it's time to make that happen.
Especially from a 6'6" target, man. My answer to that question would be, I hope so. I hope he is, putting that in his mind that he's the number 1 receiver and he's got to be our big-time target out there and our guy out there. So I hope so.
What's it like trying to lock up a 6'6" guy?
You got to be prepared. I mean, you got to be in the weight room too, because a lot of times them guys like that, Julio Jones, those bigger guys, Dez Bryant, they like to use their size a lot of times in routes, out of routes, and down the field after contact. So you might need some help sometime. It ain't always going to be gravy. So,
anything else on the offense you want to touch on, Sean?
O-line played a pretty good game again. I don't really see any big gaping holes in our O-line, and that's kind of contrary to what I thought at the beginning of the season. I thought that was going to be one of the weaknesses of our team, and it's a great surprise that they're doing so great this season. Happy to see it.
And what's crazy about the offensive line, at least to me, the outsider's perspective, is they're doing it with a lot of depth, considering they've taken some blows as far as injuries on the offensive line. Like you lost your starting center in Mark Naboo Jr. for the year. TJ Shanahan didn't play on Saturday against Arkansas. And that's just the center position. You're seeing Trey Zune really come into his own now. Cam Dewberry getting a lot of snaps as well in spot times there here and there. Ruben Fothery getting some action. Damian Crownover getting some action. And I know I'm going to forget a name here and there. But Chase Basantis, yes, another, of course, a name that I shouldn't have glossed over. That's on me. You can tell who doesn't talk about football on this desk. But it's a bunch of different dudes, and the result seemingly from week to week has remained the same.
That's an ode to good coaching as well.
Yep. And I also feel that it's good to get guys reps like that right now. And so when that time comes, if it comes long term, they're going to be prepared for it.
Let's go ahead and flip to the other side of the ball, Sean.
Yep.
I know we talked a little bit about it in the film room, or linebacker blitz, excuse me, but a lot of bad plays, busts in the first quarter, but then relatively nothing for the final 45 minutes. A&M gives up 14 points to that opening stanza, but they only give up 3 the rest of the way and end up winning the game. What did you see from the Aggie defense?
I think we just lacked a little bit of focus in that first quarter. Came out a little bit sleepy. Just didn't come out acting like ourselves, right? But by the second quarter, it feels like we woke up, our bodies got warmed up to the game, and we started playing a lot better. Especially our D-line came alive. Scored had a really active day. I love to see both of the Shamars getting into the backfield, making plays. Linebackers had a decent day. DBs had a decent day as well. It wasn't as good. The DBs didn't play as good as they've played the rest of the games this season. It was a win. Just like kind of on offense, we got the win. We squeaked out with the win. I think that we played a bad first quarter and a really, really good last 3 quarters. We got to make next game more like the last 3 quarters.
Terrence?
Yeah, in the end, for me, during this whole process, it's still a lot of room for growth as a whole on defense. So I feel like if they continue to get more reps and trust and believe in each other, be disciplined, play sound, I think it's going to be good for them.
You brought up one name, Nick Scourton. He has 4 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, the forced fumble that ends up clinching the game.
Big time.
For both of you guys, what have you seen from him? First off, obviously this is a breakout game for an Aggie, but he came in after leaving the Big Ten in sacks a year ago. First time we really saw him take over a game in Maroon and White. Does he remind y'all of anybody y'all played with or played behind at any level? Really, whether it be at A&M or in the league?
Well, for me, I mean, I feel like it's more. You want to see it more. It's kind of early in the season to put a stamp on that. But what he's doing is for sure eye-catching.
I think he has a really, really high motor. It's a really exciting player. He's really an All-American coming in from another school, transferring into it. So he's coming in and rubbing off on our guys, on our younger guys that are younger than him and are in a different stage of development than him. I think it's a great thing for our team, great thing for our defensive line. I think that he has everybody kind of on a step above where they would be if he wasn't here, all by themselves and kind of, figuring it out. But we bring in a veteran presence, and it rubs off on everybody else in the room.
Do you think having him around has helped elevate both of the Shamar Stewart, and Shamar Turner?
Definitely, and especially for. He's grown so he's taken such a big leap this year in his body and in the way that he plays and in his technique and in all those things. He's looking like a pro now, so that's a good change for him.
You want to talk about the secondary? What you're seeing from those dudes, especially the cornerbacks, guys like Will Lee, Des Ricks had a pick this week. Marcus Ratcliffe's had 3 already as well. What are you seeing from the Aggie corners and the nickelbacks?
Ratcliffe is 3, the big safety. Yep.
Yeah, nickelbacks and the safeties.
Yeah, it's good to see those guys flying around and making plays. Like anytime any DBs are able to get hands on the ball, even if it's incomplete passes, knocking balls down, more are coming. Catches will be coming down in the future. So I'm excited to see them. I do feel like sometimes they do, as the cornerbacks get a little relaxed in their coverage or in their what's the word I'm looking for? Their technique. Early on in the game, like we're saying, we're having slow starts. I feel like we get a little bit lazy in technique. But, like I'm saying, down the road in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we should see everything start coming together.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited about our DBs for sure. Like I said, this game wasn't as good as those other games that we've seen them go out there and play and be just, almost lights out. But we still had a solid game. We still had a solid showing. They only scored, 17 points, right? So anytime you hold somebody under 21 as a defense, you're really playing great ball. I mean, that's exactly where you want to be on defense, especially with our offense kind of having a slow day on Saturday, slow start on Saturday, kind of chugging through the game. Our defense held strong throughout the whole game and was really effective going into those late quarters.
Now 5 games in, 4-1 on a 4-game winning streak, a lot of momentum. top 25 matchup in Aggie land this weekend with number 9 Mizzou coming in. How would you grade the A&M defense as a whole through the first 5 games of the year? I feel like it might be a little bit difficult of a question. I know I'm putting y'all on the spot, but y'all definitely have better insight than I do.
I'll give us
how well they're playing versus how well they're not playing.
I'll give us a B minus type of
I'm
numbers.
right around the B minus.
B minus, you know. I think that we can be a lot better, and I think for the players that we have and like the guys we got out there, they should be, you know, they can be a lot better. Not that they should be, but they can be a lot better. They're going to have to grow, right? So Elko just got back here. We have new changes all around the building, new offensive coordinator. Elko's back on defense, you know, doing all this stuff. So these guys are going to have to mesh a little bit and create some chemistry and grow with each other, right? So it's like we can't be too harsh on them in year one. But they have a lot of space to grow. They have a lot of potential to grow, right? A lot of potential to be a lot better. So I think that B minus is a good grade for them.
T-Fred, why a B minus?
Yeah, I'm around the same thing. It's a lot of room for growth. Obviously, it's a first-year coach. You've already swapped out a lot of positions and trying to get a feel for everybody. Everyone's just trying to get a feel for each other, you know. Once you connect and have that chance to get 4 good quarters together, it starts meshing well.
So what is it going to take for them to go from a B minus to a B, B plus, A minus, something like that?
Discipline, like just like what I talked about in linebacker blitz, technique and gap discipline is of the utmost importance to a team like this. We're so athletic. We're so good as players, man for man, our skills and our talents, each player one by one. But as far as our technique and our discipline all the time, every single snap for 60, 70 plays per game, sometimes we have 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 plays where we're not so disciplined, we're not so locked in. I think we have to be very disciplined moving forward, and that's really the difference. I mean, between being a B minus and a B plus or an A minus is just that, just being more disciplined, not having those few plays where you relax in the game, not having that slow start in the first quarter like our DBs did on Saturday, or our whole defense did on Saturday, really.
Mentioned it before that last question, but Missouri coming in. Are either of you going to be able to make it to Kyle Field this weekend to see that top 25 matchup? And then secondly, what's the key to keeping this thing rolling, right? It's a 4-game win streak. What's the key to getting it to 5, to 6, to 7?
I think just kind of respect no one, man. Don't go in there looking at their high ranking and at all this, hoopla from them playing last season coming into the game. I think we go in there, respect nobody, act like they're just, another team out there, and we're just going to run through them like anybody else. I hope that we're developing our confidence and our kind of swag out there so that we can start dominating these games versus just winning them, right? But like I said, you always have to give us a little bit of, you always got to give us a little bit because it's Elko's first year and we're still a young team. We're still growing, still meshing together.
Yeah. I mean, they're prepping all week, you know what I'm saying? The preparation is everything. So now they just got to take that on the field Saturday. Got to trust each other, trust the technique, trust the game plan.
Anything else y'all want to touch on with the Aggies before we move on to college football as a whole?
Special teams, we got to be clean on special teams. It's really the same thing about discipline. With that fake punt. So there's probably 2 guys in that fake punt that have the responsibility of just looking at the punter, just watching the punter and making sure that he doesn't run that fake. And when they get relaxed, when you go so many punts throughout the season without them ever running a fake and they're just kicking it and kicking it and kicking it, sometimes you just run off early or sometimes you just turn your back when you're not supposed to.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened. Both of those guys turned their back, ran away from the punter, and he ran right up their back. Got to be cleaner with that one.
It seemed like a perfectly timed
Oh, yeah.
call for that fake punt from Sam Pittman and the Hogs, and obviously it works out, 25-yard gain, move the sticks, all that fun stuff.
They're backed up pretty bad.
Not fun stuff, I guess, if the Aggies gave up a fake punt. But what did you guys think of, I guess, Arkansas, at least in my view, getting a little bit too cute and trying to fake a field goal later on in the game? Like, at least to me, you already succeeded on 1 fake.
Yeah.
You're pushing your luck trying to go for 2.
The odds are not in your favor. I agree.
Yeah, for sure. The same. I mean, once that first one got out the way, that first fake, you're already getting probably yelled at about that one. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're not gonna let that second one go down.
You're not letting the second one go down.
You're gonna be timid.
Special teams coach is not going for that. Not 2. You're not getting me on 2 fakes in 1 game.
No, they didn't. They snuffed out that fake field goal, and obviously ended up being a huge play in the game. And ended up winning the ballgame.
Right.
So 4-1, Aggies perhaps one of the riding a bigger wave of momentum than some teams, but I don't think any team's riding more momentum right now. And maybe even a little bit of officiating manufactured momentum than the Miami Hurricanes.
Oh,
and what we saw Friday night, Sean, that was insane. That Hail Mary that's not called a touchdown and then called a touchdown. Both teams celebrate, run off their respective sidelines, and then like after a 6-7 minute review, it's called an incompletion, and the Hurricanes remain undefeated.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah, that's tough to swallow, man. You're watching, everybody's waiting. It can go either way. One side's going to be mad, regardless.
As athletes or former athletes, you always hate to see the referees be such a big part of the game, right? You don't want the refs to decide the game or even be, in that decision. You just want them to be kind of on the sidelines making the calls, right? So, tough loss for the other team.
I don't mean to be like the guy who puts on a tinfoil hat and look for the conspiracies, but Miami is the best team in the ACC, and like they're their best hope for a playoff team, right? And if Miami's, because like it's a 12-team playoff, you can get a team in with a loss or two, but
there's some politicking.
Might want to save one of those Miami losses for later on in the season, considering there's still some tough teams on their schedule. Perhaps an ACC championship game with Clemson, but man, it just seemed real fishy.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was odd.
Yeah, they got through with it, man. So it's going to be interesting to me to see how they do this 12-team thing and how far it's going to go future-wise. So,
and I feel like it's so many games on just young players. I mean, I guess now they're pros, kind of. They're getting paid with the NIL and all that. But before, I would just think like you can't put amateur players through a 12-game, 13-game season, and then we're gonna run a 12-team playoff. For 3, 4, 5. 3, 4 more games. That's tough on a young kid's body.
And prior to that, you had so many guys that were electing not to even participate in these bowl games.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because of their future. Mm-hmm. So now we're at these games, and I'm curious to see how it's going to go out. Like, it's already 100% injury rate in football, period. So we'll see.
So what's the max? You could end up playing, 17 games in a season? So you go 12-0 the regular season, you go to your conference championship game. Mm-hmm. If you lose your conference championship game, you're 12-1, you're no longer an automatic bid, which means you don't have the bye, which means you got to play in that play-in round. You get to play on campus. Say you win, you get to go to it's a round of 8, right? No, it would be a semifinal. No, what is? Yeah, it's 8. A round of 8. Oh, so yeah, you're playing like the Rose Bowl, and then you go. So that's another game. So that's 15. Then you go play in one of the semifinal games. That's 16, and the championship game 17. The NFL season's 17 games long. Regular season.
You may as well be a professional if you're gonna play that many, in my eyes. But hey, that's where college football is going. I guess that's where the money is. Really, is what I was gonna say.
So Miami, Virginia Tech was crazy Friday night. How much of the Saturday night game between Alabama and Georgia did y'all get to watch?
Man, the biggest part of that game that I saw was the 17-year-old receiver out there spinning and juking and running through the defense like it was easy. So.
Did you know he was 17 years old?
I did, and
because they only mentioned it like every time he took a step.
Yeah, but I mean because it's so crazy, right? For such a young kid, he's playing against grown men. Some of those guys are, and this is the COVID era of college football, right? So some of those guys are 7th-year seniors and 8th-year seniors, and these guys are 22, 23, 24 years old, man. Grown men out there, and he cooking them at 17. That's a big-time thing.
Yeah, like he should be preparing for like his high school homecoming game, and instead he's out there making the play of the year, the catch of the year against the Georgia Bulldogs in the final few minutes and taking the lead back.
Yeah, I thought Alabama looked really good as a whole, just with their new coach and the new changes around their program. I think they're kind of business as usual. Mm-hmm. Players didn't take it. The players ain't changing nothing, I guess.
No, and I feel like it's been like that in Alabama for decades. Like they find ways to get going faster than a lot of other.
They lose
they reset fast.
They lose the greatest head coach to ever coach the sport.
It's like they don't miss a heartbeat.
And then they beat Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs, who have it rolling, their program rolling as well. That's insane.
I'm even more interested to see that Georgia versus Texas game when they go down to Austin.
Yeah, well, that's only 3 weeks away, right? Yep. 2.5 weeks now as we sit here on Wednesday.
Well, Texas got Oklahoma, I think, next week, so they got a few games they're gonna have problems.
Yeah.
What else have y'all seen from around college football in Week 5?
I still, man, anytime you say around college football, I think about Colorado and Travis Hunter For one, they're in the Big 12. They weren't even supposed to win 4 games this year. They're 4-1, not probably. And then this Hunter kid is getting over 100 yards, catching touchdowns, getting interceptions in the same game. Yeah. It's just really special stuff. It's like an anomaly, like something we haven't seen before in college football. So every time you say that, he pops in my head, really, in particular. But their team as a whole is surprising me this year.
Just to give us like a little bit more perspective on how insane it is that Travis Hunter's doing what he's doing, how hard is it to prepare week for week to play cornerback in a power conference?
Man, it's tough just to be on one side of the ball. He's doing it on both sides of the ball. He's playing over 90% of the snaps on defense. And I don't know what he is on offensively, possibly over 80% of the snap. Yeah. So it's kind of, and he's making big time plays on both sides of the field. So it's always excited to watch that team. What Deion is creating there, it's unmatchable in the shorter time that they've had. So
they're 4-1 right now. The Colorado Buffaloes. They got a bye this week, and then they get Kansas State next week.
That's a tough game for them.
But it's at home in Boulder.
They're going to have some tough games. I feel any game they play, they got to go in with a chip on their shoulder just because of what's going on. You know what I'm saying? They've drawn eyes all over this world. So
bringing a lot of attention to themselves, so they're going to have to play well.
they're going to have to show it.
Right.
Do you have any thoughts on Ole Miss going down to Kentucky?
Man, that's a tough loss for Lane Kiffin and those Ole Miss Rebels. That was a game they weren't supposed to lose, right?
No, they were ranked 6th in the country and lost to unranked Kentucky and Mark Stoops.
Yeah, that's a tough game for them. I think the Kentucky actually played really well that game, though. They had I think they played well to beat them, but still, you got a lot of high-ranked players over there. Got a lot of guys making a lot of money over there at Ole Miss to be losing to Kentucky when you're not supposed to.
It's not completely out of the blue from Kentucky.
No, they've been
pun intended with Big Blue Nation because
they've been on the way.
They also took Georgia down to the wire earlier this year. Mm-hmm. They can play some defense there.
Yeah, they got some defense. They got some DBs over there. Is what I see. They got some good DBs over there. So exciting team.
And one of their defensive linemen, one of my favorite names in the Southeastern Conference, Octavius Oxidine, was named Defensive Lineman of the Week over our own Nick Scorden this week.
I think Scorden probably should have got him. You know his stats. What are his stats?
I believe Oxidine had 3 TFLs. But they also...
No sacks? 3 TFLs,
I think
no sacks?
He might have had a sack. I could look it up here in just a
3
second for you,
TFLs,
Sean.
1 sack versus 2 TFLs and 2 sacks?
So
4 TFLs overall.
Players of the week. I'm going to pull up Octavius Oxidine's line. 3 tackles, 2 sacks, and a QB hurry.
Oh, yeah, no, he beat him.
Okay. Scorden beat him or Oxidine beat Scorden?
Oxidine beat. I mean, what you said? 3 TFLs and 2 sacks.
So it's only 3 tackles, 3 total tackles, 2 of which are sacks.
How many tackles did Scorden get?
He only had 4, but all 4 of them went for losses. 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble.
Scorden forced the fumble.
Scorden forced the fumble that Jaden Hill recovered.
At the end of the game, Scorden should have been in there.
That's what I thought, but
because of the forced fumble. That's a game-changing play. Takeaway is a game-changer.
I will say, Oxidine deserves a lot of credit for his role in helping upset the number 6 team in the country on the road. Yeah. That's all I'll say.
Right.
That's probably what he was leaning towards.
Yeah, gotta show a little love.
When we're talking sacks, right, there's good and there's great. Good play, getting a sack, you just get in there. You might wrestle the guy down, tackle him down. You might even hit him hard, whatever. He keeps the ball, goes to the ground. That's a good play. It's a sack. A great play, get there, take the ball from him, right? Mm-hmm. Get there, knock the ball on the ground, flies up in the air. All your boys are running for a touchdown. That's a great play, right? So
yeah.
The fact that Scorden got the ball out, I think he should have got the spot. Player of the week.
What else from around college football?
That's all I got. Y'all see anything else?
No.
All right, now we'll kind of pivot and talk about T-Fred a little bit. Like we were talking about earlier, kind of off camera, T-Fred was a 4-year starter here at Texas A&M. Started his first game against Oklahoma State and Des Bryant. Let's just start there. We can't skip over Des Bryant.
Oh.
So tell me about that game. You kind of came in there on spot duty. Another guy was in there, and he was getting the Des Bryant treatment, and then you had to come in there and spot duty him. So how was it stepping out there on Kyle Field for the first time in front of bright lights?
Well, we were actually on the road. We went to see Oklahoma State.
Okay.
And obviously this was kind of first couple games was very shocking for me because I think at the beginning of everything, I was already putting my mind into I'm probably going to get red-shirted or they probably going to wait to, with the size I'm coming in. You got a 170-pound corner and came off a meniscus tear in senior year, and you're like, that's just where your head is. So we got down there, and it was a couple of big plays going on, and we gave up some coverage, and probably the first quarter and a half, we're down maybe 17. I can't really tell you 14 or 17 points, and Dez was having a good game, and Oklahoma State overall was having a good game, and I mean, my number was called, and I was able to get in there. I want to say the receiver was Cooper, number 25. I think that's what it. He played sliding. He played outside, and I think we called. Like a man coverage or something, and I did a jam and I ran with him. And next thing I knew, I turned around. I kind of knew my number was going to get called as soon as they seen me in there. Just my first play of the game, right. And I went for the pick, and I felt like I picked it and started running the other way, and I didn't even catch the ball. So it was just nerve wracking, but I was also excited to be out there to get my feet wet. And after that, I mean, it was up from there. I started the rest of the season and throughout my rest of the years at Texas A&M.
Right.
What year was that? Was that
2008, 2009.
Okay, so 2009?
Well, I was 2008 class, so I was 2008. Okay,
yeah. A&M lost that game 36-31. Do you remember how many tackles? This is at home, right?
No, it was.
It was on the road.
Yeah.
So
that's the year after
2008.
Yeah.
So the 2008 game.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to pull up that box score, see what you remember from your college debut. Beyond just what you told us. Stat line.
I think I had, I don't know, I'm going to say 3 tackles, and I'm going to say 1 pass breakup.
Okay, well. And beyond this Oklahoma State game, man, you participated in a lot of big games here when you were at Texas A&M. Tell me about just playing under the lights, just being a part of all of this, and just kind of the journey that the team took from your freshman year coming in 2008, what you saw the team being, all the way up to your senior year in 2012, whenever you left.
Well, like you said, it was Mike Sherman's first year, so it was already becoming that big change here that they were looking for at Texas A&M. So I feel like our class we were pretty high. We were a top 8 class coming in from the high school level. So I feel like it was a lot of changes, and it was going to go in a certain direction. Some people were not going to be happy, and some were. So when that moved forward, we made defensively. We had a lot of young guys that came in and kind of understood what Sherman was looking for, and they had an opportunity to play.
Right.
So I was fortunate to be one of them guys that bought into the system pretty fast and continued to play for 4 years as a starter here in Texas A&M.
I found that box score.
Go ahead. Let's go back to the Oklahoma State.
Fred, you had 2 total tackles.
2.
1 solo, 1 assisted, 1 pass breakup.
Yeah.
And your boy Dez Bryant, 5 receptions, 106 yards, 3 touchdowns.
But that wasn't on me.
Yeah, most of that before him.
No, that was 2 and then a punt return. I want to say he did a punt return. He had 2 tugs and a punt return.
That was 3 receiving touchdowns.
Oh, they called the punt return back then. That means he had 4.
Yeah, I don't see a touchdown on punt
man.
return.
Dez Bryant was a special player.
Dez Bryant was happy. Oh, he was called. I would say this about the Big 12. The Big 12 at that time when we was coming in, it was the SEC.
It was past,
people don't really, you know what I'm saying, understand that. You had Crabtree at Texas Tech. Yep. You had Colt McCoy at Texas. You had Dez Bryant at Oklahoma State. You had Blaine Gabbert at Missouri. You feel what I'm saying? Yep. And they had
Texas Tech always had a quarterback.
Yep. Oklahoma had Bradford.
Yep, Sam Bradford. Yep.
They had 5 people go first round.
They had 5 receivers that was NFL players.
On offense. Yes. That's what I'm saying. So a lot of people, it started trickling down when they started making a lot of moves with, people trying to get out. And Alabama, at that time, to me, the Big 12 was competing with the SEC.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? With athletically, size and all, from D-line, the O-line, the receivers, the DBs, you can look and you wouldn't see a difference.
And what he's saying right there, that's a big part of the reason why we weren't scared of nobody when we came into the SEC that first year, because we knew it's like, man, we've been playing against these guys that are going to the NFL every single year and all these different teams. So, I mean, we kind of know what's up with that. Speaking of that year, speaking of my senior year, which is that special year where Johnny won the Heisman, we won, I think, 11 games. We went 11-2. We ended number 5 in the country. Tell me about your senior year in practice when we had to face Johnny Manziel and Mike Evans every day in practice and what was going on.
I would say that what was going on was what he was doing and what they were doing, people were more shocked that it was unorthodox. They was like, man, that ain't gonna work. You know what I'm saying? It ain't gonna happen. He would scramble, whatever, throw it up, or run around, and he would make plays day in and day out. But the problem was, everybody was so like, it's not gonna happen. And then the very next year, what'd he do? Everything that he did prior to that and brought the Heisman here. Exactly. So everybody was like, man.
He brought that same Johnny football from high school right here to College Station, and it was a beautiful thing.
Yep.
So what you're saying is playing against him when he was on scout team wasn't fun?
No. And Mike Evans either. I mean, Mike Evans was a big body, man, and he had a lot of confidence. Still to this day, you see what he's doing. Like, it ain't no change, you know, so.
And it got to the point where they took Johnny's red jersey off. We all know that kind of story where they put a regular jersey on and said, tackle him if you can tackle him.
Really?
Yes.
So I've never heard this
Oh,
story
you've never
before.
heard that. So
No.
yeah, so we were, practicing against Johnny and Mike, and Johnny and Mike are kind of starting to form that connection that we all saw for, 3-4 years here. And
oh man.
oh, here comes Lucci crashing the party an hour late.
I'm so in trouble.
So Johnny and Mike were starting to form that connection that we saw Here, let's let Lucci get in. It's my fault. I told him,
you can stay. You just say, hey, it's your name on the show.
No, you good.
I told him
I'll get
to
out of the
do
way.
it. Don't be mad at him.
Join us.
Hey,
Oh, shit.
blame it on me. It's really blamed on you. And we're really about done.
You can actually blame it on 50 Cent.
We're just talking
You
about
was with 50 Cent?
I was at the Astros game.
Oh,
We were in this suite.
Still hammered.
we just
No, I'm not. I had to.
yeah, get that water in.
Hey, man, I'm going to drink it too.
No, I'm actually not. I'm losing my voice.
But yeah, we're just going over some T-Fred stuff, we talked about his first game playing against Dez Bryant. Talked about
Was that in Stillwater?
Yep.
some of the great receivers that were in the Big 12 during his time, Michael Crabtree, Dez over there. We were playing against Colt McCoy at quarterback in Texas.
Who were Texas receivers back then? Was it Quan?
Jackson, not Jackson
Shipley,
No, his
Jordan.
big brother. What's the big
Shipley was
brother's
there.
name?
Jordan.
Jordan Shipley. It was Jordan Shipley.
He was a problem at that slot. Man, who's that on the outside guy?
Was it
Williams?
Quan? No, it wasn't Quan Cosby.
Was it five? What?
Crosby was there. He was there.
Yeah,
he was
Quan
like
Cosby, yeah.
8 years, like veteran.
No, Shipley was the 8-year or 6-year guy.
Crosby was too, I thought.
Yeah, Quan played a lot. Quan and I still stay in touch. He's one of my favorite Longhorns ever. Yeah. I don't know. Don't tell me you got beat on that trick play that you're here at Kyle.
No, sir. I know who got beat on that trick play.
But no, that was Case. That was probably you that got.
I know who got beat on that. We
don't have to
we can talk about it.
It
if you
was
want to
one
talk
of
about it.
Was it your high school teammate? No.
Oh, man.
So what have y'all talked about?
We talked a little bit about the game, talked about the offense, talked about the defense, talked a little college football, talked about Miami and their miraculous win over the weekend. Talked a little bit about Deion and the shock that it is that that they beat the crap out of UCF. Well, we really didn't even go into how they beat the crap out of UCF, but just the shock that it is that they're 4-1 and where they are in the college football landscape and in the Big 12 right now. It's really impressive, really.
There's actually that. I don't think they win that conference, but there's a lot of winnable games for them.
They're not going to win the conference. They're in the conference, man. Who
do you think wins the Big 12? K-State or Utah, BYU?
I'm going to have to go with K-State.
I kind of do too.
I like Utah.
You just said that because you were committed to him.
No.
Weren't you?
Trent was committed to him, and he backed out.
Were
They
you
tried to get
Louisville?
me.
You were Louisville.
Yeah. I was Louisville. Mm-hmm. They tried to get me to come over there, but I wasn't going there. I think it was the weather.
How about well, we talked about Alabama too. Alabama versus Georgia. What do you think about that one? I want to hear your opinion.
I picked Alabama to cover, and I thought win. I'm like, how do you... Kalen DeBoer, to me, has to feel so... Now, it probably changed it, but felt so disrespected to go, okay, I know I'm not Nick Saban, and that's fine, but I just took the Washington Huskies to the national title game. My career coaching record is like 120-10.
Yep.
and I beat the crap out of Texas in the semifinals, and I was at Washington, and you're going to give me these players and act like I can't win in the SEC? So I actually was happy for him and Milroe. You're another Katy guy.
Yeah.
Man, I sat there at football camp a few years ago and saw Jalen Milroe, and he was committing to A&M the next day. And they hit pause because they wanted Eli Stowers from Denton, Geyer.
Baseball player.
Geyer
right?
or Ryan? I think Stowers or Geyer.
Geyer.
Geyer, yeah. And they had recruited him for so much longer. But to watch Milroe throw, because even before he was an accurate passer, he could throw darts, like in a camp setting. And then watching Stowers the next day, who's now a good tight end for Vanderbilt.
Wasn't he? I thought that was the guy who got drafted by the MLB the same year he was supposed to come to A&M.
No, who's that? I don't know who that is.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
there was a
I
kid
do.
he committed to us. He was about to come here and it was going to be his freshman year.
Oh,
but
you
instead
think
he
Cole
got drafted.
Stewart? Cole Stewart.
Okay.
Cole. So yeah, he was like the 4th overall pick. But they turned down the commitment of Milroe. So anyway,
Crazy.
I thought I would rather ask you what you thought of that game with that level of cornerback on the field, right, for both teams. And I just think that it's crazy how much the game's changed from even when y'all are playing, where it's just like, yeah, just throw it up, underthrow it, let the receiver. I mean, it felt like both teams just started just like, let's just chunk it and let.
See what happens.
Yeah.
Well, that's just confidence. The quarterback thinks my receiver is better than you. So I'm just going to see, I think if I just put a 50-50 ball, my guy's going to come down with it. So let's see who's got the best athletes.
I mean, you were talking about those receivers in the Big 12 when you were here. I think what I saw Williams do Saturday was insane.
Special.
Like that catch, I don't care what when you take like what was it, the opponent, the caliber of opponent, team, defense, defensive back.
And he's 17.
17, the moment, which is Bama, Georgia. At the very end of the game, and to make that catch, and then what all he did after the catches might be the best I've seen.
Man, he's special. And that made me think, that's probably the first player, this is a big statement, but this is the first player since Adrian Peterson that I've looked at as a freshman and said, damn, they kind of should let him go to the NFL.
You might be right. You might be right. Like, tell me he wouldn't start in the NFL. Right?
I mean, if he was, I think he could play in the NFL at 18. And there's not very many guys ever that I even think that about. Osi Umenyiora was 19, I believe, when he began.
Where did he come from? Troy?
Yeah, something like that. I think he was like 19. He came to college at 17, but not many guys that you would think, oh man, you look at this guy at 18 years old and say, this is an NFL player. Mm-hmm. That kid, NFL player.
I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you about T-Fred, about the DBs at A&M, because I thought Sean and I going into this week were like, okay, I mean, clearly they were better than last season, the secondary, but we're like, you're seeing some holes. We were a little concerned. We wanted to see them get tested. I thought Saturday was their best showing as a unit that we've seen so far, because Bobby Petrino, I thought number 2 is a good receiver. They got tight end. Like,
man, I thought they played better in some of the other games.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I thought they did better this week, with the exception of that.
Yeah,
they got the deep ball, but to me that was like, that quarterback, I thought he was going to be sacked 3 times on that play.
I do think that Will Lee, man, he's playing out of his shoes right now. He's a baller. And so it's just like, where'd he come from? He's playing great. So.
Yeah, what do you think of those corners? Will Lee and then Ricks, number 10, got his first start, had a pick. I don't know how he played, throughout the entirety of the game. What have you seen so far?
I think they were active, very active most of that game. Obviously, it was a shaky start offensively and a little bit defensively. You could see in some spots where we were getting out of position. But with more games that come and more mesh, they can connect and be able to get on the same page, Because I think sometimes lazy technique, and that comes with more repetition. The more repetition you get with it, it becomes secondhand. So I feel like I said, week 5 and 6, or we should be everybody on the same agenda.
We were talking about with Zane. I love to see Dalton Brooks get in there and be able to play a full quarter game without knocking somebody out and getting kicked out the stadium.
You got to see what he can do with the whole. Yeah, I think he's going to be really good. I know you were on him from pretty much game one, or I guess when you went to practice.
From camp, probably.
Yeah, because it wasn't game one, because he literally got targeting on his first play against Notre Dame, which in hindsight was probably a pretty, we said it then, but now looking back, it's like, man, that was a pretty damn big loss when you see how he is kind of in run. Mm-hmm. Did you see that play with that about big, heavy running back and him? They hit the hole.
Yeah.
It was right in front of me. I was like, damn. You could feel it on the sideline. I was trying to see which number our linebacker. No.
Just the safety came up.
It was like number 0 for Arkansas, the big running back. And I heard it, from right here on the sideline. And I was like, I wonder which linebacker that was. And then he gets up, it's 25. Look at him. Because he didn't give much ground. That dude outweighed him by about 50 pounds.
This is what I didn't talk about that I wanted to talk about the defense. Man, that running back from Arkansas, he's a great player. The guy who transferred to Utah and then he ended up
Quinton Jackson.
Really good player, really explosive player. And he started the game off looking like that, looking real explosive. After Shamar Stewart knocked him upside down and he hit his head on the ground, he was not the same the rest of the game.
Yeah.
After that hit, he did not run the same. He was pity-patting through the holes. That changed the whole game.
I agree. I mean, it's what you do, right? Like, if you want to take somebody, you're right. It took him out of his.
He was mentally out of it.
He didn't want it after that.
That's what that's how they hit.
Set the tone. That's how you set the tone.
So I wanted to say that.
And that was a huge play too. The game had some weird plays, right? Like that A&M was down 14-7, and they were going to go for it on 4th and 2 from around midfield. And if you don't get that, you run the risk of being down 17 or 21-7. That's with the way the offense was playing, that's tough. Somebody jumped, they get a false start and go back 5 and punt it. Yep. Turned out to be one of the biggest plays of the game, because in the very next play you fumble, you get the 10-yard field.
Oh yeah,
it's a tie. I thought the other big one was Le'Veon Moss on 3rd and 4. Yep. What did you guys think of his performance? Because I thought the opposite of Jaquinton Jackson. He started delivering blows as that game went on.
I think he got into the flow of the game and just, like you said, as the game got on, he got better and better. Got more confidence as the game rolled on. And in that 4th quarter, he was electric.
And that rubs off on when you see that from one player, other guys buy in. So that's what you want to see week in, week out, for sure.
As a defensive player, one of the things that I noticed on that drive, right when he ripped off that run, and then again on that other drive when he had the 30-yard run, I love it. We've been waiting for this forever, but they get right up to the line. Look, you run 30 yards, you're tired. Get up to the line, snap it again, run it to him again. Yeah. And they did that. I think he went on that first drive 23-8-15. How hard is that? It looks, from where we sit in the cheap seats, it's like the defenders look, winded. It's not even winded after like one play, but just not ready, not set, and snap it. Like, how hard is that as a defensive back?
Well, you're already moving backwards, and now you got an angle to go to where the ball is. That receiver knows what he want to do, and he's going to do it. You know what I'm saying? So now, a lot of times what they do on those long runs, they'll run those receivers off, and then another set of receivers will come in. So then you still got the same energy from the last play. So it's wear and tear on your body for sure. So I just don't know if it's more longevity for the defensive player to be in trouble like that, because sometimes offensively they don't really get set as well. So, but that helps us catch our breath. So a lot of times you see false starts in those situations as well, though. So
you know what game you just reminded me of, and y'all both played in it. It was A&M announced they're going to the SEC. It was your junior year. You might have been
senior. If it was his junior,
senior,
I was senior.
Yeah. And talking about Dez, that Oklahoma State game where we were just all over them. Did you end the half with a sack
Two
or
sacks.
Montre?
Oh, sick.
It was like 4th and
sacks.
40, right?
Yep.
You were sick that day?
I lost 15 pounds that week or something like that.
Yeah, he was drinking like liquid meals.
Yeah, he saw me. I was drinking milkshakes and stuff.
That might have been the difference. The healthy Sean Porter.
I can barely stand up.
Oh, it was crazy.
Golly, you just had the good old
That game
fashioned
was crazy.
flu.
I don't know what it was, but it was
It was
bad.
bad.
Well, what was it, 20-3 at halftime or something like that? But that was a game where in their OC was Holgerson.
Mm-hmm.
They had Whedon.
Dana Holgerson, yep.
Yep, they had Whedon and Dez.
Not Dez, they had Jordan.
What was it?
Justin Blackman.
Blackman, yep. And it's like they started doing that tempo and they were going at Dustin, who was young at the time.
Yeah.
But that was the most like tempo, just like if it's working, we're gonna keep doing it. And they just kept
And
throwing
they were
it.
throwing the ball,
Yeah.
so now we're gunning. Like wherever we're going, we're there. Like you have to go. It ain't. I started cramping.
Yeah.
Sprints. It's basically like short sprints the whole game. Like
Yeah.
You got to blast. You know. Yeah.
So
And then-
as a defense, how do you stop that?
You really can't stop.
You just have to make a good play and then
Yeah.
You
settle
just
it.
got to close out the drive, right?
Yeah.
Just, you got to get off the field on third down. Third down, okay, let's shut the door so we can go ahead and take a break.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can see some of these teams when it gets bad, it's somebody's cramping real bad. They fall out earlier than usual, and that's probably the only way you can save yourself from.
And I think that was before the fake. Were y'all
Yeah,
around?
that's before.
Were y'all around during the fake cramp era, or was that not a thing?
It was
No,
going,
it was going, but it was
wasn't
more
as-
tact to it back in the day.
Yeah.
It was more like it had to be like in the flow of the game. You had to kind of be a good actor, like,
Yeah.
and really be running and but nowadays
it's
it's like,
obvious.
drop.
You saw that Ole Miss this week?
Yeah,
The
man,
Ole
that's
Miss
ridiculous,
freak?
man. That's not football. I think
Yeah.
that, they shouldn't let those guys do that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
especially you got to think too though. When they get like Oklahoma State at the time, they were running 10 personnel.
Mm-hmm.
Like you know what I'm saying? They're passing the ball. What are you gonna do about it? You know what I'm saying? So it ain't no certain way you can really get in shape for that.
Yeah.
Other than getting off the field.
Get off.
That's what I feel. I
That's
feel
what
like
I
I
love
was in
about our
great shape.
defense now. I love about the kids right now that are playing. They get off the field. They understand how, and I think that's Elko putting that in them.
Yeah.
They understand how important third down is. Third down is everything, man. You can give as many yards as you want to on first and second down.
Yeah.
Third down, you get off the field, or you close it out. It's
Oh,
fourth
that
and
don't matter
something.
no more.
It's fourth and something. You have to make a tough decision as the opposing coach.
Yeah.
That puts pressure on them all game long.
So you mentioned Shamar Stewart and that big hit, and I think he's just been playing great. What about 11? You've been asking for it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he had his coming out party Saturday. I thought about it, and I was like, you know what? First play of the game, they try to run a little zone read. He blows up the quarterback for like a 4-yard loss. Last defensive play of the game, he blows up the quarterback, forces a fumble, game over. Nick Scorton from first play to last was out there just wreaking absolute havoc. 4 tackles for loss, forced fumble. He had a pass break. I mean, he played the way you've been wanting to see.
High motor, man. All I was asking out of Nick Scorton was for him to not do those little small bad habit type of things, right, in this game,
Yeah.
like doing a spin move on a run fake in the mesh. When they're right in the mesh, you can't spin move right
Getting
now.
out
It's
of gap.
time to be cute, right? I think he's cleaned a little bit of that up, and he still kept that high motor, so that's exactly what we want to see. We talked about him a little bit.
And how much did y'all talk about the offense and Marcel? And
We talked about it.
Yeah, a lot.
I thought the most impressive thing to me with Marcel, and you guys have played with old quarterbacks, you played with young quarterbacks. When you were you here for the
I was here for the end of McGee
Magida, Gerard, and Gerard and Tanny?
Yeah.
So you've been through this, and like when you all of a sudden you go from this very experienced quarterback to an inexperienced. What's impressed me the most about Marcel is the same thing we talked about last week. He did it again. That game was on the line in the fourth quarter.
He's winning.
He's winning, and hey, we're going to call a pass play from the 1 foot line, and you're going to throw a perfect strike in rhythm, in stride to your receiver, and then we'll let the running game take over. But I just thought he's calm, and when it wasn't going well for him, he doesn't show it. When the offense is punt, doesn't faze him. He's very level, and he's not turning the ball over. And oh, by the way, he's accounted for 8 touchdowns in 3 games.
Yep, he's winning. Like you said, they're 3-0. You know, that's really what you can ask for him. It's not always going to be as pretty as you want it to be, but he's ready for the moment, from what I've seen. And it's only going to get better. You know what I'm saying? They still got to mesh. I feel like they're still trying to figure out who they are as a whole, you know? And that's anybody coming in as, like we said, a first-year coach, first-year quarterback, you know? Just take advantage of the opportunity, and he's doing that.
Football a lot of times comes down to, are you a winning player or not? And this guy, he's showing that he's a winning player.
Yeah, I think, you know, if you follow his track record up to here, you say that about him every step of the way. High school, multiple sports, dad's a coach. I think this weekend will be very interesting. It is another opportunity. You know, you got knocked down in that first game. The task was to kind of, we all knew Missouri was not going to lose because they didn't play anybody until now.
Yeah.
Closer than we thought against Boston College and Vandy, right? But you knew they weren't going to lose. So I kept looking at that game going, you're going to get a top 10, top 7, top whatever Vandy team Missouri team come in. Can A&M handle their business? They have. Now we got the showdown. How important is this game? And nothing's the be-all, end-all this early. Mm-hmm. But what can A&M, what do they stand to gain this weekend for Mike Elko and the program?
By winning?
Yeah.
Stand to gain a lot, man. You be the top 5 team. Anytime you be a top 5 team, it's impressive and it's something to put on our resume moving forward. So I think we stand to gain a lot, and I also think that this team is very beatable. I think that a lot of their fanfare and a lot of their kind of momentum is coming from last year. Mm-hmm. I do know that they're a tight-knit group. They got a lot of chemistry. They've been together for a while.
Coming off a bye, which I do hate.
Got some rest last week, so we got to show up with our work boots on, ready to go on Saturday.
If they can win this one, T. Fred, and you look at that schedule, you go into that bye week, there's a real opportunity for A&M to make a lot of improvement over the next 2-3 weeks. But they got to get past this one.
Yes, it's going to start all this week. You know, like you said earlier, Missouri, they're beatable. We got a chance, and we're rolling right now, and there ain't no other better place to play it right than here in the 12th man. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have everybody behind you. So it's going to be exciting to see them this week.
Let me ask you all this. So Missouri's got I just saw a mock draft today. It's like they got them top 15, if not top 10, Luther Burden.
Yeah.
You were earlier talking about all the different receivers that you guys have faced in the Big 12 over the years and the SEC. When you've got a guy as good as Burden, they got 2 other pretty damn good ones. Theo Weiss was a 5-star from up there, you know, home of Said and Stephen Terrell.
They got a good group.
Theo Weiss, and then they got Mookie Cooper. But Burden's that dude. So as a secondary and as a guy that, you know, studies defense, do you place extra emphasis still on like what's clearly the best guy and take your chances with those, or do you just kind of play it even when they do have other weapons? It's not like just one and nobody else.
This is kind of a personal preference kind of thing. For me, I'm going to definitely pay attention to the best guy. I'm paying attention to Burden. I'm going to tell my linebackers to hit him every time he runs by them. I'm going to bracket him. I'm going to give him a little bit extra attention, and I'm going to live with my results on the other guys.
What about you?
For me, I would say you would lean a little bit at the beginning, you know, but they got 2 or 3 guys, and certain people be certain places on certain downs.
Yeah.
So, for example, Blackman was the hoorah of OSU, right? But Cooper, in certain downs, he moved around, and that's who they wanted to get the ball to.
He moved the sticks.
So you got to play with, you know what I'm saying, down and distance. That's what I would say. I would not just be one-sided toward it for sure. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he's got everything you're looking for, right? But they got other guys that can make plays too. So I wouldn't be one-sided on it. I'm everybody across the board.
Got to disrupt that guy, though, because, I mean, a good receiver and a great receiver is a big difference, right?
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
it's okay to let a good receiver get a couple catches. You let a great receiver get a couple catches, his yak is going to be different, and the momentum of his team is going to be different off of him catching the ball. And you never know. You let him catch two, man, it might get ugly.
Yeah, you let that guy do that a couple times, it feels like all of a sudden everybody's on their heels a little bit. Yeah. Did you ever have a game, T-Fred, where you, as a corner, went to your coaches, whether it was during the week or on game day, and said, I got him. Let me, I know it's different within the scheme of the defense, but was there ever a game where you just said, I got this, and your coaches trusted you to do it?
It was not a game that I can point out that I was like, I got him, but a lot of the games I was on the person that was going to be damaged.
You just kind of knew.
Yeah, so every third down I knew I was going to be either inside the slot or on that same side of where the most damage would possibly be doing, So, but I wouldn't say it was a game I can point out to be like that guy and that, because a lot of things were going on different downs and distance. So, and I was constantly moving around, inside, outside, depending. It wasn't even just on third down. So I know that for sure, though.
I think him, and maybe it's because I was starting to get used to seeing number 7 in this defense, and then I think T-Fred in Elko's defense at that nickel spot would have been lethal.
T-Fred and anybody defense at the nickel spot.
All right, we like to do this every week. We like to talk a little NFL, Aggies in the NFL, whatever it may be. Texans with a big win. Astros with a big loss today. Not big, 3-2. They tried to rally there. Yeah.
I was watching.
It was
3-1.
Oh, 3-1. Sorry. They had bases loaded, 2 out. Line drive. Thought it was a hit.
They got going early, though.
Yeah, they did. And they
Second quarter, it was...
The Texans they own the Jaguars. We know that. Sorry.
Man, but okay.
Sorry.
My problem with the Jaguars, now that you just bring that up.
I do want to hear it because you played for them.
Yeah, but it's like, man, Trevor Lawrence is not a $200 million contract quarterback.
No.
He's not a top-tier quarterback. I didn't think that in my mind before he got this contract, and I still don't think it now that he has gotten this contract. His record, it's like that of Gardner Minshew. His really stats are kind of like that of Gardner Minshew.
Yeah.
So they almost could have kept Gardner Minshew and got the same production, right? I hate that. I hate to see that. It's almost like they took a shot on the wrong guy almost, right? And it's like now they're in it, just like the Giants are in the same situation. But even though Daniel Jones is actually kind of looking up this year now that he's got neighbors to throw to, but that's just like an ugly situation out there in Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence. I hope he gets better.
Yeah, those contracts will get you. We know that here in Aggie Land, but
that money make you relax a little bit.
I think it must. It must.
That quarterback market's high, man. So.
And it's all guaranteed?
We all like to think it wouldn't, but it does to certain. I mean, it takes a unique breed not to have it do that.
Correct. Yeah, it takes a unique.
Did you hear Tom Brady this week?
Yeah, firing back at
Baker.
Baker, yeah.
Baker said he came in to make it more fun.
Make it more fun.
I thought that was like
Principal Brady.
So it was.
But now we're here to have fun. Though. This isn't fun. This is a job, man. You get paid hundreds of millions of dollars to play quarterback.
Fun was winning Super Bowls.
And he's right. Fun is winning. It's not about fun.
Speaking of Super Bowls, who y'all think, if you're picking 2 teams from each side right now, your final 4 in the NFL?
Oh, man.
Because I watched a team last night that I might be a little biased, but
Detroit. Oh, it's your boy, though.
Yeah.
Detroit.
And they listen.
I like him, though. Not that good.
The rookie corner makes me nervous. Terry and Arnold, because Evan Stewart gave him the business in Tuscaloosa a couple years ago. But, man, that offense yesterday, I love their running backs, both their running backs, and then Amon-Ra St. Brown, they got the great tight end. And I think Goff is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in the league. I mean,
very hot and cold, though, right? You don't want an inconsistent quarterback.
But
that's kind of what I feel like he's
cold. I think he's like
lukewarm a little bit.
I don't think his ceiling is as high as some of those guys is what it is. But damn, he's
really good though. He's consistent.
Yeah, he's consistent, especially the previous year and a half, 2 years. You know, Detroit's a problem. So I wouldn't put it past them, and they fly around.
Great defense. Too.
Yeah, they fly around.
Hutchinson, he's getting it. I thought their draft picks are Hutchinson and Sewell on the O-line were kind
Sewell's
of
balling
anchors
too.
of that. Yeah. Who else out of the NFC? Because right
Baltimore,
now,
what side is Baltimore?
Baltimore,
no, they're
AFC.
AFC.
I be getting confused about who on what.
I think it definitely feels like Baltimore and the Chiefs over there.
Yeah, I like Baltimore.
I don't-
That's what I was saying.
I don't see the. I
the
like
Texans?
Baltimore for sure.
And the
But,
Chiefs.
No, I don't. I know who's over there.
Who's gonna beat
Yeah.
them?
I'm just telling you,
What is he like? He's
they're
like
not.
somebody.
They're not where they were last year. They're not where they were
Yeah.
in the previous years.
And then they lose Rasheed Rice.
you know, and then they just lost 4. You know what I'm saying? So it ain't. They played close games all the way up to this point.
Yeah.
So, like I'm
So
saying,
who do you
we'll
think's
see.
the opportunity? Who can step in? Is it the Texans?
No,
Holmes is,
yet.
no, they're not. They have
Texans
to be,
can't step in yet. It's just I feel like they need a little like one more year.
Because it doesn't
One
look
more-
like
one more year for the
Buffalo.
Texans.
That's for sure.
Not Buffalo. No.
I like Buffalo.
You do.
I like
Without Diggs,
Without Diggs, he was an issue over there for them. And they're what are they right now? 3-1 or whatever.
3-1 now. Yep. After Sunday night. We didn't do a second NFC.
Who do we got
We're
for
not.
NFC?
I'm not picking the Cowboys.
No,
I don't know.
Nor
Almost like
can you
none of
take
them.
Philly.
No, not
Philly, no.
Nor can you take.
I do not trust the Commanders.
No, you do not. They're
So,
too young.
Next division.
Nobody over there.
Your boy Cliff is doing a hell of
doing
a
a good
job.
job. Yeah, it's good, but I don't
Not
trust
the
them.
Saints.
Not in the big
People got
game.
high on the
Not the
Saints.
Saints.
I don't
after
trust
2
Derek
weeks.
Carr.
You can't even not Tampa either because you don't think Baker Mayfield all the way.
Tampa makes me a little with
I know.
Vita Vea in the middle and Mike and
I love Mike.
I think they're
Mike gonna do
their
his thing.
scheme.
You know what? I had a big opinion about Baker on Twitter
Yeah,
before he got to Tampa Bay.
really.
Yeah, and I said that pretty much Baker. I didn't think he was a great quarterback.
Yeah.
One of those top guys, right? But since he's been in Tampa Bay, Baker's actually showed me a lot. He's actually been playing really well. I like the way that he's feeding Mike, and he's kind of like gung ho about it.
Yeah.
Let's say double team this guy. I'm just gonna throw it to him because he's better than y'all.
Yeah.
So I like the connection. So I might be changing my opinion on Baker a little bit. I think that he's doing a great job down there in Tampa.
So I guess with everything we just said, are we sticking with the Niners, even though they're dealing with a lot between McCaffrey, or are we going? Here's the one team we haven't mentioned. Are we buying the Vikings? Are we buying Sam Darnold?
Hell no.
You can't.
Hell
They're
no.
4-0.
They're winning games.
They are, and they're impressive. They're doing like impressively.
I don't trust them, man.
Yeah,
I'm going
I don't
Detroit
either.
and Kyle Shanahan and the Niners
Yeah.
over there, and I'm
Rematch.
going Mahomes.
So we're basically
KC
going
and
the
Baltimore.
Final Four
Baltimore
rematch.
and Buffalo, and then
Because Derrick Henry looks explosive over there. I mean, and for you to be in
knew
your, 10th year or something for Henry?
Probably, yeah.
10th or 11th year, have an 87-yard blast off like that, man. He's got, his legs are feeling young.
What in closing, because it made me think of it. Mike, you didn't play with Mike, right? You
No.
missed him by a year, and he redshirted your first year. Or no?
Yeah. No,
play with,
So he redshirted when you were there.
Yeah,
he was
redshirted
here
me.
with Mike.
So what was
Yeah.
y'all's?
They practiced-
What was y'all's? Give me like your honest to God first impression of Johnny and Mike
We talked
when they were. Y'all did already?
Yeah, we went through a whole thing about him.
Damn it, Zane.
It wasn't him, it was me.
Oh. I was like easy to blame.
He said sorry.
All right.
No, but we talked about him. We talked about kind of the practice stories with Mike and Johnny, and just how good they were and how we
people thought it was not possible, as in like the style. You know what I'm saying? Especially at A&M. Because think about the 2 quarterbacks that we had before him, Tannehill and Gerard.
pro style.
Under center
Yeah.
here.
That's what I was going to
Yeah.
ask you. Do you think that was even possible if Sherman would have stayed?
No, I don't know how he would have used.
Jamil would
Yeah.
have been the starter if Sherman would have stayed.
Right.
Sure.
Yep.
Because Johnny's style is too. It's
Too elusive. It's too shotgunny. He might check out of the underneath the center. And, no.
It might.
Something like that, but no.
That's true.
That might, yeah, with that being like it was, I don't think it would have happened, man. So
And it's crazy to
Good
say
idea.
that our first Heisman winner, we didn't switch coaches. He might not have ever touched the field here.
That is wild.
at that position, or I don't know.
Hell, they might have had Mike at like tight end at that point.
Ain't no way, man.
No, you weren't moving him. But
Ain't no way, man.
I've seen worse happen around here. You got.
Nah, I saw what Mike was doing to our
Yeah.
DBs at a young age.
I just know how that style of offense, not Johnny's Nims, but before it,
Yeah.
it was like night and day.
Yeah.
Like with Mike and Johnny. Oh man. So,
And it's very precise. It was like the receivers were running routes to 18 yards, and you better hit this at 18 yards, or it throws off the timing of the whole plays. You gotta, go to plan C. He just got to run or something. I don't know, but it was very particular.
I'll tell you one thing Cliff has proven. He's proven a lot, but one thing Cliff's proven is if you give him a very young, inexperienced quarterback, he can. I don't know what magic he works, but you look at what Daniels is doing at Washington.
He protects them as their coach. He
And
does
how
what he's
does he
supposed to
do that? Like, what does that entail?
Young player, right? You don't put him in the danger zone. Don't let him stand back here for 4 or 5 seconds to where one of these DNs might knock his head off. Don't let him throw 30, 40, 50-yard deep balls
you
at
feel
the
like
beginning of every game and keep him safe.
Do you feel like they're doing a good job of that with Marcel? It does seem like they're.
To a degree, yeah.
When you were saying, I didn't think about that until you were saying it. It just seems like.
But
can't
you
run,
protect
though.
your young guys.
Yeah.
You protect your young guys and you put them in positions that they can be successful in. You play to their strengths. You do things that they're comfortable with, right? That's what Cliff is doing. The same thing he did with Johnny, the same thing he did with Kyler. He's got his third one. He's probably going to have another one in about 4 or 5 more years.
it's elusive.
Don't forget, he had a guy at Tech that ended up pretty good too.
Oh, Mahomes, yeah. So he had Johnny, Mahomes, Kyler, Jaden McDaniels. It's just Cliff loves that style of quarterback.
Yeah. It's a good fit. Yeah. It's fun to watch him. Well, this was fun. I'm sorry I missed half of it. I'm now I have to go home and watch it.
Yep.
Because I didn't partake. But now we'll just go eat dinner and y'all can hit the road. He's Sean Porter. He's Terrence Frederick, T. Fred. It's a LiucciCast
That's it.
with Sean Porter.